There's another band that couldn't do anything wrong in 1988. In Excess with Devil Inside, the second single from their Kick album, which had come out the previous October. That was such a huge record. 4 top 10 singles in the US, somewhere around 10 million copies sold worldwide. Devil Inside reached number 2, and the video was directed by filmmaker Joel Schumacher. He would later go on to make a couple of Batman movies and work with Michael Douglas and Nicolas Cage and Robert De Niro and Colin Farrell. But In Excess was never as popular as they were with that Kick album. The next record was called X. It came out in 1990, and it was a letdown. 3 more albums followed, each less successful than the one previous. And then Michael Hutchence died in 1997. Since then, the band has soldiered on with different singers, but they're nowhere near what they were in the spring of 1988. Another year next time. And on the way, I want to spend some time poking around some rock and roll hotels.
More of the secret history of rock coming up. Back to the secret history of rock with Alan Cross.
If you're in a band, you spend an awful lot of time away from home. Most spend time in tour buses, but if you're lucky, you get to stay in hotels. And if you're really successful, you get to stay in some really nice hotels. And certain establishments have learned how to cater to the rock and roll lifestyle. That means dealing with the noise, the parties, the groupies, the druggies, the hangers-on, the overdoses, the damages, and the eccentricity of the guests. For example, there was one group, who shall remain nameless, that refused to stay in hotels where the doors had latched handles instead of knobs. Latched doors brought back terrible memories for the singer, who spent some involuntary time in a hospital. The hotels must provide plenty of liquor, secret entrances, discreet exits, access to physicians, TVs to be thrown out of windows, and blackout curtains in all the rooms. The most famous of all the rock and roll hotels is probably the Chelsea on 23rd Street in New York City. It began life as the tallest apartment building in the city when it was built in 1884 and was turned into a hotel in 1905. Dylan Thomas, the famous poet, died in room 206 after drinking himself to death in 1953. William Burroughs, the beat novelist, wrote much of The Naked Lunch in the Chelsea. And it was in this hotel that Arthur C. Clarke came up with a big chunk of 2001: A Space Odyssey. In the 60s, Janis Joplin, Joni Mitchell, the Jefferson Airplane, and Leonard Cohen all hung out there and wrote songs in the hotel. Their guests included Jimi Hendrix, Bob Dylan, and most of the Andy Warhol crowd. And it was in room 100 where Nancy Spungen was stabbed to death on October the 12th, 1978. Nancy was the girlfriend of Sex Pistol Sid Vicious. Did he do it? Well, he died of an overdose before anybody could find out. In more recent times, bands like this were known to hang out at the Chelsea to soak up the vibe and to commune with the ghosts of former residents.